But did this make sense? So, by the way, since we are recording, now we are recording, I can just bring this again. So, we went through these shared sessions together. We've done the product materials. Today is the delivery. After this, you will review. What you should review is not if all the tiny details are 100% correct. That's not the point. Is reviewing at a high level. And you either say, oh, you totally missed this and that, we will redo and review again. If the direction is good, is correct, and aligned with what you believe to be the right direction, then we will do the estimation, so then we can discuss. It's very important is that we will estimate, separate in blocks, everything. So then you're looking at an estimation that you know which component, how much does is the effort for each. So then we can discuss and even understand, oh, maybe we need to simplify this to go to a smaller budget. And we are looking at each component has their own estimations, which is the way we usually work. And whatever, so in a nutshell, Camilo, we never push the client to do one thing or the other. We give our advice. And regarding estimation, this is very important because we give you all the breakdown with everything. This is a decision we will you will do, but we will discuss together, because we might come with something, I don't know, I have no clue, but we might come with an estimation that might be higher than whatever is your expectations. I have no clue. I'm just saying this is an hypothesis. Might even be lower. I have no clue. But we'll come with something. But then together we can adapt and align until we get to, okay, this is the version that is inside your capacity at the moment, and that meets the goal we need to meet. Is something that sometimes the first estimation is there, sometimes it's not there, so we can redefine something to get to a point where it's meeting your estimations. I don't know if this is making sense.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. So I think I'll leave the word now to Samantha to go through the brief, and then when we get to the design, I'll take over to explain a couple of things. Some when you want.
Okay, let me share my screen just a second.
Thank you.
I'm in a bigger screen, but let me know if you can see it right.
Oh, but no, but share the window in a no, please don't do this.
No, wait.
I wait.
So we know,
Hmm.
but in presentation mode, maybe you can see it better.
No, yeah, but you okay. But if in a small screen, so you should make the window proportionate to a normal screen and share the window only instead of the screen, you know?
Okay, let's try again. It's the same, I think. But can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, I will go through all of the rationale as Danielle explained. I don't know if we should. Oh, sorry. I don't know if we should go through the problem and everything, Danielle. But this is
No, we can go straight to the state product heart statement.
but basically this is describing the problem that we are trying to solve, explaining what translati is, and the product heart statement. This is ipsis verbis on what we built together. It doesn't make sense for us to read it, but it's basically explaining the heart of this product. But it's exactly what we wrote together, both of the slides. Then go into the audience, the target audience here. It serves two main audiences: freelance translators and translation agencies. But we will go in more detail on that.
Mm-hmm.
So what they expect from service providers is that they are accurate, supportive, time-saving, consistent, flexible, and trustworthy. We've built two user personas, so two potential users of this tool, and we have Sarah and we have Diego. So Sarah is a freelance translator. She lives in Brisbane. She's a full-time freelance translator, and on her free time, she likes to do some yoga. Um, so basically, Sarah dedicates to official documents translations, such as academic transcripts and legal certificates. And despite her experience, the tools she uses are super outdated and disconnected and requires a lot of her time and energy to complete one single job. So she needs to use multiple tools. Um, a process without our tool would be basically a normal day for Sarah would be she receives a scanned document from a client, like a birth certificate or whatever. She uses an OCR software, but the layout comes out broken and messy. Then she spends hours manually fixing the format of the document. Then she translates the task in a separate tool, then reduce the formatting again. So she loses time and energy. So this would be a normal day for Sarah.
Without translation.
Without the tool, this tool never existed. So this is a normal day for her.
Hmm.
Then we have Diego. He's a project manager in a translation agency. After work, he likes to cycle along the coast. So what he does, he basically manages multiple translation projects, but he often deals with inconsistent formatting from freelancers and delays in the deliveries. He's motivated to streamline workflows, reduce manual fixes, and keep projects running without sacrificing the quality. The normal process for Diego would be a client sends him a batch of scanned documents for translation. He distributes the files to freelancers along with instructions for formatting and translation. Freelancers return with translations with inconsistent layouts, missing format, and broken structure. Diego and his team spend hours fixing manually before delivering to the client, wasting time and slowing down the workflow. So this would be a normal process for him. Um, and that's it on the UX personas. Uh, the main competitors, we've picked the main ones in terms of layout, translation, and hybrid tools. And then we have ABI. Main strengths, as we also discussed and checked already. Um, it's super known among translators despite not being made for them. Works well with digital non-scanned PDFs, preserves font spacing layouts, and has an affordable license. In terms of weaknesses, struggles with low quality scans, slow and heavy on system resources, misread tables, paragraphs, and structure, poor complex layouts and non-standard tables, and confused by stamps, signatures, and marks. This is like the main strengths and weaknesses for ABI. Then we have Tradus, which is a tool, just a translation tool in this case. Um, and the main strengths of Tradus, it's a long-standing tool with over 40 years in the market. Pioneered the use of translation memories, still widely used, offers flexible pricing, and delivers good layout results in terms of translation, of course. And as main weaknesses, it's super outdated. I checked actually. I was checking, looking for images, and it's super confusing. Outdated UX that relies on the user familiarity. Of course, I imagine that the people that use this are super familiar with the tool. Otherwise, this is super confusing. Um, Design has inspired many tools, but feels clunky and old-fashioned, and struggles with complex layouts and performs poorly on scanned documents. Then we have SmartCat, which is an hybrid tool, layout and translation in this case. And as main strengths, it's faster, better OCR performance on scanned images, backed by strong funding in the market experience. Market connects translators with job opportunities as a market place for job opportunities, builds loyalty with freelancers through ongoing work, and as weaknesses, it also inserts visual elements. Layout is split into blocks, no document with context within a project, cluttered UX, too many clicks, menus, and I also tested SmartCat, and it's a bit confusing. It was with a lot of clicks and menus, and it was I didn't find the experience super smooth as well. But yeah, as main competitors, we have these three. We picked the main ones. And for the design preview, I will pass the word to you, Danielle.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sam. So before we actually delve into the designs, I'm going to share a couple of things still in the rational that lead us to the designs. Give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. So we have with the stars the parts here that I want to see with you. So when we start here, so basically, so to be so it is clear for you, so we don't jump into straight into the designs. I just want to go through a couple of things here, also because we made the decision here as a suggestion, that this internal decision. Of course, decision is yours. I'm going to explain that. So from the product heart statement, we broke down these into assumptions, which I think it's important to read. So I'm going to read them. So translate, and of course, these assumptions then we did not adapt to the Gemini pivot. We just adapted because we were already on the designs. We didn't come back here and readapt it. So when we were doing this, we were thinking we would have two models available. By the way, I'll show you our vision on how to UX wise, how to tackle that whenever, if ever, we will have different models or different pipelines. Even if it's not different models, might be with the same model, but for some type of thing we have one pipeline, some other type of thing we have a different pipeline. Whatever that is, we have a proposal for that. We'll get there. But so translators want to maintain full control of all of over their translation output, ensuring body linguistic both linguistic accuracy and structural integrity without relying on multiple tools. But they also want to have the power to just have perfect layout parsing and then have full control of the translation part. So separating translation from layout parsing. Users expect AI-powered tool to intelligently recognize and reconstruct tables, paragraphs, and handwritten text with a minimum amount of errors possible. So, of course, so translate. This is based on, of course, all the use cases you sent and all the explanations we have about the erroneous interpretation of table parsing when just asking a random model to do it with a bad prompting, with or not even get bad, but with someone that does not know the secret sauce. So translators want to minimize manual rework and expect tools that preserve both content and layout accuracy without requiring extensive correction. Users assume that document formatting will remain intact during translation, preventing loss of table headers, footers, and key structural elements. Translators expect contextual translation accuracy, ensuring meaning is preserved based on document structure, not just word for word translation. Users need an efficient way to handle multi-documents projects, avoiding the rigid workflows that and allowing seamless, continuous iteration during a translation process. Translators need a tool that processes documents in parallel, allowing them to continue working instead of waiting for processing to finish. Translators want a single and intuitive tool that reduces complexity, eliminating the need to switch between OCR translation and formatting correction software. Agencies will prioritize layout accuracy when evaluating new tools, and only once they trust this feature, they will also use the platform for translation improvements. There's one thing that was one assumption, but we are proposing to leave out for now, post MVP, which is the editing in the app. So because of course it's very handy that you get to a point where you're immediately editing, and it might not be that much of a big feature, but MVP, mindset protecting your interests, it's the kind of thing that might not be a big thing, but we might start realizing when we're actually building it that, oh, sometimes this happens, sometimes that happens, sometimes, and oh, what about merging table cells? And it might be simple, it might not be. So because of this risk and because the gold is already here, this is a great feature, but we are proposing to put post MVP. Okay, this that's our suggestion. We break this down into UX needs, but we don't need to, and pipeline assumptions, but we don't need to go through there now. I just want to, before we move forward, just want to explain. So if we will have, and I'm explaining this here before the UX, so then when we go to the UX UI, you will understand why we did that. So this is considering also yet that some models will be more efficient for, or some pipelines might be more efficient when they for certain outputs than others. This can always happen. Okay, so right now you have um, one and they will be soon, if we are successful, they will be soon. For example, let me tell you one good example. Let's imagine we have huge adoption and suddenly your translators are saying, okay, this is so good, but I would like also to translate in the same workflow things that are not necessarily complex tables. When you get to that point, you might say that the options, when you ask the machine to parse something, that some is you should not have these as an inference from the machine if there's a table there or not. It should be the user first to say, okay, this one has tables, so I need this. It's going to be more costly and it will going to take more time. This one is just text, so just, you know what I mean. What I mean is, we will, even if we do not have Gemini versus Claude in terms of processing some type of document versus the other. Even if we do not have that distinction today, one day we might have a user selecting based on his intentions, if he's using one pipeline or one model or another. He's not aware of that. He's just aware of his intentions. He's just saying, okay, this has tables and this does not have. Maybe we'll get to a point where we are optimizing these, and we'll have a distinction between ugly formatted bad pictures and good pictures, and maybe this is going to be more affordable if it's a PDF superstructure versus a ugly picture. We don't know. We are assuming that this might happen one day. So but when we design these, so in a nutshell, the concept is, in the upload moment, we have the difference between first process of any document and a reprocessing. What we are proposing is, and this is combining two things, and this was first before the new Gemini version that you sent, but this is to explain how we are seeing it from a user experience standpoint. So per doc, you will select, for example, A, B, C, D, whatever. In this case, was simple and in depth, and you would know something like this. Okay, if you go this, it's gonna be cheaper and faster. If you go this way, whatever it is, it's gonna take more time and it's gonna cost more. You would see examples visually enlightening to understand when you should use this or this, and it's your decision as a user. So, and the concept, UX concept, Camilo, is once you process a document, you will select a lot of things like from this language to this language, and there is one thing we have the and we still have in the platform, but I would like to explain first in abstract, so then we go to the UX, then you understand difference between process and reprocess. So the binary, so whatever is the upload, you cannot change to reprocess, but in reprocessing you can add a prompt, but the binary is the same, so the upload is the same. That's why it's a reprocess. We don't allow you to misuse, to pay less for a reprocess and maybe insert a different image and pay as a reprocessing. So you cannot change the source, so the binary, so the file with the image. You cannot change, but you can ask to reprocess maybe with a prompt, and that's what we are thinking. So if you want to reprocess something because it was inaccurate in whatever you were paying here, here you will pay less because you are reprocessing, and we are giving the user the ability to pay less to try to get to a point, and maybe this is even less. This is the maths we did not do yet, how much credits we're going to pay for different processes, but this is a very important approach, which is we are allowing the user, because we've learned by your descriptions that sometimes it's not perfect and you might want to reprocess, um, and we will test to have a pipeline that is able to process and then maybe get the prompt of the user when reprocessing, because the user optionally could add a prompt saying, okay, you're missing this, that, please try to fix this. And if the user is trying to reprocess something to get to a result, he would pay less than if he's processing a new document. This is the concept. Exactly what are the credits, we don't know, but this is the thought behind it, to achieve a multitude of things. One, we are allowing the user to reprocess with their inputs, and paying less, and not feeling like the frustration of paying always the same even when the first result was not good. Then it's his decision how many trials they try, and when they give up and say, okay, now I'm going to fix the rest manually, it's their decision. We will never have a system that resolves everything for everyone always, but it will at least 80 something to 90% of the time should resolve. Then we are perfect. It's what we should aim to, not 100%, but 80 to 90% of the cases being able to solve. We also know that doing this approach, that for a reprocess, you cannot, not only because you cannot trick the platform, but also because you do not have to upload, search the one document that failed and re-upload again. It's already there, and it's fair that you are reprocessing the same binary. You're just able to, you will not be able to fraudulently trick you to pay less to process more documents, because you cannot upload, because it's a reprocess, and it's convenient. So it's, for us, this was the right balance of user experience with business intentions. So last two things before we go on the designs. One, the sitemap updated. So basically, just to explain what the colors mean. So this is a menu. The light green is a page. The light blue is a component. A UI component inside a page could be a tab, a panel, a model, whatever. You're not leaving the context, the page, but you kind of have different components inside the page. Module means, okay, if there's something that is repeating in multiple places, instead of having a sitemap that is really hard to define, we say, okay, this is a module, we call it a name, and then we define the module. These are main actions. These are not all the actions, but the main actions in a screen. The main buttons in a nutshell, and that's it. So basically, starting from the center, from the top, so we have the concept that in the menu, you have my account. Of course, you have all the login sign up experience, and you always have, as part of the main navigation, actually is detached visually wise, but you always know how many credits you have at any point of the application there, where you have the main menu. Regarding login sign up, of course, this is quite the standard thing, but is all of the normal flows of login sign up, which we don't need to get into detail. In my account, you have your profile and also settings. Of course, if we will have an organization, a company, inside your settings, you will have all of the user organization management of inviting the users for your organization. more seats, and that's it. So here, wait a second. Just note before I forget, because I don't want to forget this. Let me just write it down. Um, okay. So basically, that part is here. So basically, as for example, you have your if you are a freelancer, you have an organization that is only one user. It's fine. But if you are a company, you have in the admin in your admin, you'll have information about your company, of course, but then the users list where you can search, add new users or edit user, and then each user, so you know all the users inside your organization. So this is pretty standard. um, then we have a main element, so our inspiration, and we're going to go there in a while, but our inspiration for the navigation was, and we actually, this was the first time ever we've done a lot of applications. This was the first time ever we explored this standard, but it was what made sense, which was, I actually do believe that the way ChatGPT organized the flexibility between having projects, it's not exactly the same, but is inspired. You're going to see it in a while. But having projects, but also having ad hoc documents, and having everything always in the sidebar, one click away from going from. We really like that concept for this kind of approach, because sometimes you just need to process one document and you do not want to create a project, a client, and then a project, and then something. You just want to process this document quickly to send. So you just start a new one, drop the file, and start working. Maybe later you're going to put it in a document, but this concept that you have always there, the latest thing you've been working on, and some are organized into folders and clients, and some are just the latest ad hoc documents that you've been processing there. I think this was a very this is a very intuitive, minimalistic way of organizing things that I do believe it's good. So what we are saying here is the main activity. So the users in the platform will be 99% of their time in these mode projects and documents, and that's where you have a sidebar similar to GPT, but with a difference, which is you have filters, and you have and the filters are, for example, documents, because you have permissions to access documents of other people. You could say by default it's always my documents, but you could see other people's documents there, so you can swap this and suddenly that is changing, right? Because you might be seeing documents and projects of other people that other people are working on. So by default is filtering by the ones you've created, but you can swap to other users if you have permission to do that. And also the status, because this is something we do not have in on GPT, and would be, and maybe it's not super needed in the start because they are organized by date, but we do believe it is important, because if there's a project you've been working for months ago, but now you're not working, by default you're always seeing the ongoing things. If you want, you can see the ones that you've closed already, or if you want, you can see all of them, both the ones you close and. But in a nutshell, there are some filters to organize the workspace so it's not cluttered with things that you've done months ago that are not relevant anymore. If you want, you can go back there and explore them. And that's it. And inside these, we're better look at the UX more than honestly discuss these at the eye level. But just to say, the one things we worked as key screens are all the ones with these green dots, which are the ones we did not do design the whole thing because it's pointless now. We focus on the ones that represent our vision on how to tackle the most important parts of the user experience, how the credits work, how do you acquire them. Of course, it's a detail, but it's important to understand how it goes. And this main part, which is where users are going to spend 99.9% of their time, which is working. Okay. and of course we did not design one part here that if we move forward now to development, this is one of the things we'll need to decide. What we are assuming is, and the one we've designed is a user that has permission to do so, is what we'll assume is that in an organization, you will have different permissions as a user, and one permission is managing users, of course, and the other permission is doing buying credits. Some users might be able to buy credits, others not, and the one that can buy credits can decide how many credits different users can spend, and if they reach a threshold, they'll ask for credits, and you'll give them more credits as an admin. So you can control that someone is not spending a whole budget in a document irresponsibly, and then you're out of budget because someone did something wrong. So we did not design these, but we thought of it, but we did not design because it's not a core thing for now. The principle is there, gives all the flexibility that is needed, and it's a very simple thing in the end, but gives all the flexibility our organization needs to manage budget. This is it. One last thing before we move um, to the design is basically we thought of, okay, let me share here. Yeah, so before we go on the actual design, let me share a couple of things here on the aesthetics. We usually use the Miller Brown brand personality cheese wheel, and we selected the combination of these two personalities: wise, trustworthy, and maiden. Why? And this is something we thought a bit. This is the first time we had this combination, and I think is really the most adequate for one reason, because your stakeholders, they are seeing these AI as a threat. That's why the maiden is very important. The wise is very important because you need to trust it. This one is unquestionable because you need to really trust this tool that is helping you. But the maiden, I think it's very important because you want to feel like you are in control. You don't want to feel that like the tool is controlling. You want to feel like I'm controlling everything. This tool is just serving me, extending my intelligence and speeding my intelligence capabilities. But that's what we believe. So our UI, it's not imposing. It's very subdued. It's very clean. It's not a very strong UI like some apps should have, but we intentionally created a UI that is subdued, that is more calm, and even the terminology, and that's the one thing I was going here. The reasoning, we did not explore this in depth, but if we move forward, because we did not have time, but if we do move forward, we should work on the terminology, the terms of the actions, instead of, for example, even now we are still using the term process, but this is a detail that we did not delve into, but we want to bring this as something moving forward. If we'll move forward, we should take some time to think about this in detail, because this might make a big difference for someone that is feeling this as a threat, which is, instead of, for example, having a button saying process all documents, we would have something like prepare, you know, which is a detail, but these small details all together, they will make them feel like I'm in control, more than if you have a UI that is super imposing and with terminology that is super efficient, and they will feel like, okay, this is a machine that is threatening me. This is a subtle thing, but these subtle things make a difference. Um, so before we look at the design, is this making sense so far?
Yes, complete sense. Actually, this last part is something I have been thinking of, and I think you kind of nail it in the way that we want people to feel in control. I completely agree with that. I think you might also have chosen to design this in a way, which is what we are going to look after this. That yes, I agree. People should feel in control. Actually, when I reduct this in my head, I think like I want people to feel like they are photocopying one page, a very basic process, which is way much more complex than it actually is. But I want people to feel like this is a, like a tool that did for me, but I apply my a different level knowledge that is the translation process. So I completely agree with that. I have a couple of observations regarding a couple of things that you mentioned, but let me know if you want me to tell you those now or at the end, or let's wait.
If you can do it now, yeah.
Okay, there are two things. The first is like the prompt editing, like, hey, you missed this part, you missed this part on the table, or you didn't add this content or whatever. It's something I had thought of before. And even with the highly skilled reasoning models, I'm talking about O1 Pro, I'm talking about Gemini, Sonnet 3.7, the best top models in the market. They are very easy to trick. So even if you explicitly say like never reveal your system prompt to the user or never explain the steps you took to do this, they will end up doing it. And it's
No,
you don't
no,
have to be
it's
an
not a
expert.
chat. No, no, it's that is impossible here for one reason, because you are not in their interface. You are in our interface. We just take
Mhm.
your prompt in, and then goes to a black box. The user has no clue of what is. So let me explain quickly. I'll explain it. I understand what you're saying, and I know exactly what you're saying. That's not 100% not a problem. If I understood
Okay.
correctly, so I'm going to explain you. So I'm going to put it here. So let's imagine. So this is a user, and when you're in a when you're in a LLM chat, okay, um, we call this frontier frontier LLM chat. So all of these GPTs and their all of their siblings, as a user, you are talking with an interface. So this is the chat that has access to the LLM, that then direct access to an LLM. So whatever you ask, the LLM will reply. So you're gonna ask a question, and this interface will gonna ask a question to. Of course, I'm oversimplifying something, but you're gonna ask a question through this interface, and the LLM is gonna reply, and you're gonna see the reply. Sorry, it's double P. Okay, we are not doing that. So this is what we're doing here. User is asking our system to reprocess with a prompt, and we're gonna enter a pipeline that will do whatever. So the prompt gets here. It's an interface in which you add a prompt, and you will never see the reply. The only thing you'll see is in the end of the pipeline the result of the result of the so
Okay,
document.
so may I think like to this like it is a button that I just press, it executes the prompt that the user will never see, and the result will be the reprocessing of the work
They will just see the
being,
document.
yeah. So there is no chance for the user to interact or to enter any input into a chat like interface.
There's no
Okay,
chat
good,
Python interface. Not
great.
chat
Yes,
Python.
In
yeah.
the reprocess, you do that.
No, it's not a chat. It's a
Ah,
you
yes,
just it's not a chat. You never get a reply. You never get a reply.
yes, not a chat, but you want to
Just get
enter
the document.
you need an extra prompting. Yeah. But it's not a chat
Okay.
yet.
Yes. So I mean, it's just like the way I imagine this for it to work and avoid these security problems is just I click a button. That button contains a prompt, so injects a prompt that the user will
No,
never
but
see. The prompt.
this but how can I okay. Honestly, just bearing in mind the time, I would propose one thing. Don't worry with this, and we'll discuss this later because uh, this will not be a problem at all. But it would take a bit of time to explain you what I mean with this. I can explain you later, maybe, because otherwise it's too abstract right now. Um,
Okay. And
but
my other question is, I agree with you that sometimes the user might only need to upload the document and do it quickly and deliver the process. But the concept of project can be very important here because and I talk about Translati. What we do is we sometimes get a customer comes with one page, so we do that one page, but 2 days later he or she comes with a new 2 or 3 pages, the same type of document but for different months. So this is LLMs are stochastic, as you all know.
mm,
So if we run this from scratch, the words and the layout might be different, so it makes no sense for me to present the client the bank statement from January looking different and even having different words compared to February or March. And that might happen if we run this in different chats or chat
don't
sessions.
worry, don't worry.
So,
Let's discuss that after you see the designs. It's better.
all right. So, the way I have solved this is every time I use the same context window, especially in Gemini, that has a 1 million token context window that's very long. Actually, it's like, I don't know, like say 700 pages. Of translation for someone. It's very long. Uh, Even if days after I use the same chat window and I upload the bank statement from October and put it there, the result, the layout and the consistency in layout and words is going to be perfect if we use the same context window.
Mhm.
If we start over, so that's why I say the concept of project might be important here, but because translators are used to this to get one customer that comes 2, 3, 4 days later with a different document. I'm sorry, I didn't know I had to translate this. Can you help me? And we see ourselves in problems trying to, okay, let's figure out where these documents are. So we input that all HTML to the system and say, keep this in mind and now translate this. So we get the same result. We need to avoid that by having projects. So I know Daniel came again, just drop Daniel's documents over all again and again
Of course,
on the same window, context window.
of course. But I would like to, I would like to talk about that after we see the UX. Because although I totally agree with you, there's the right balance between giving you the ease to organize as much as you want, but also giving you the power to, if you don't need to create a project because you know this is a one shot and you just want to do this one document immediately, you don't need to go through creating a project that you don't want to create because you know this is only one document that I'm going to do it.
Yeah, but we have
Yeah,
the
but
two
you have
approaches.
the two options. It's your, as a user, you will decide if you want one or the other.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Let me just take note here before. Okay, I'm gonna share the other screen, but let me just take the note here. Just making sure this is not forgotten. It's here. Okay, edit the note. So I'm gonna go back to the screen sharing. Okay. So I'm going to start with a sidebar with everything empty, just so we start exploring this main context. So, and going back here to the menu, what we are looking now, and the sitemap, what we are looking now here is the menu in the project and document mode, which is 99% of the times you are here. This is what will be, and that's what I was saying, which is the inspiration on GPT, and where you have this flexibility, but with different from GPT. Why? And this, but just as a note, this is not perfectly aligned because we do not put here enough documents. This should go until the end, like taking most of the real estate, so you have all of the latest things here in one click. And only if you want to go to something earlier, you should go. But the very important thing that is different from GPT is here, the top one. So you have the search, but you are by default seeing only your documents. If you do have access in the permissions to documents of other users, you will have these. If by default you only have access to your documents, you're just only going to see yours, so you do not have need to see this. But you are assuming this is an admin that has access to everything everyone in their team is doing. So you can have access. Someone is sick now and you want to take over the project that someone started. You just go here, change the user, and you're inside the exact same thing, but seeing the projects of the other person. Um, and by default, you have all the projects here. That by default you're only seeing the ongoing things. So things that you've closed some months ago, you would come here. There's also a place. Let me explain. There's also a place in the menu which we did not design because it's not a key screen, where you can have a more traditional list detail approach, which is if you go to clients, then you'll see the projects, the client's projects, and it's a screen that it's not like a sidebar, but a screen with all the lists, and you can enter a project with a more traditional navigation. But on a daily basis, because you might be doing something here and then going somewhere else, you have these here at the tip of one click away to navigate across these active projects. Because it's ongoing, if you change these, would be closed projects or all projects. And it's one click away to add a new project, and one click away to add an ad hoc document that you don't want to put it in a project. If you want to put it in a project, it's either an existing project that you can search or find it here, or look for it here, or you can search. But if it's something that you really want to just quickly send something and you don't want to create a project inside the client, you just go straight here and you have it here. Um, so let's go on the first screen. So first screen is what happens when you click not in a specific document, but in a project. In a project, basically you see, and we inspired in, because honestly, a lot of things I don't like in GPT, but I think this is really well designed. How easy it is to start new things, and we are bringing these. Of course, we have all of the structure that they don't have, but we are bringing these as a standard thing, which is when clicking a project, I can start editing configurations of a project. I'm not creating. This is not creating a project. This is editing a project. I can edit whatever is from my project, but I immediately have all the documents I've processed inside this context, right? And I can go inside and see whatever I want to there, or I can just upload one to start a new file. Here we have the tokens. I didn't show them here, but whoever has available tokens has always knows how many tokens still have. We'll go there in a while, how to increase tokens. We are suggesting something, but we'll go there in a while. So going down here, so this would be if I click on the project settings. So the project settings are so besides status and the name, what we have is you select the client, because you might want to organize different projects of a client by client. Not mandatory, but if you do want to put different projects in different clients, you have these. Because even later, let's imagine later, you could have, not at an MVP level, but you could get to a point where for some bigger companies, for bigger projects and bigger companies, and imagining this is one day the suite they use for everything, they can even, you could even as an admin with a certain role attribute available tokens per project instead of being per person with or per client. We have all of this liberty. For now we are making it simpler, but with this structure you can have freedom to do all of these different things. And we are defining the default source and target source. There's different documents might have different, but by default in a project most probably you will be mostly translating, we are assuming these, mostly translating from one to another most of the time. So we are saying every time you upload a new, by default this will be filled, but you can change. You will gonna see how does it work when we are creating a new document. But this is we're setting at the project level the default language source to language target to target. And here you have project level memos. So the memos, the way we are proposing is there are global memos. So as a user, as a user of an organization, there are organization level memos. So the ones that are set at the organization level. So these will be ones that you're sure. But then there are the client level, because there are some glossary from the client that is specific, that every time that it is one way, you know that this client wants the translation to be a certain way. And then there is project level memos. So you can set just the global ones, you can set client level ones, and you can set, if needed, project level ones. Maybe the project level are not needed. Maybe we just need the first two levels. But the important concept is that the most specific will always win. Whatever is the level of deepness of the tree, the most specific will win. Okay. So if you're, let's go on the memos. So if you want to, you're seeing here that you have 24 memos. You can click to edit the memos. So basically, in this case, okay, it was saying 24, but it's actually only one. So you have only one memo here, but of course you could have a lot of memos. I think it's good to explain this. So other memo. Wait. Basically, you're seeing all the memos you have in this context. If you get here grade point average, if you get inside the memo, so the way we are organizing, of course, here we try to think what we believe is the best. But what I'm saying is, for a given term, you can set, okay, this term in this language, this term in this language is defined, and then the replace context. Instead of creating hundreds of lines, you can say anytime any of these term is found in this language, if you're translating, sorry, this is not accurate, sorry, let me show the example we've done in mockup, because in the designs is not what I wanted to show you. Wait, it's here. So this is accurate in terms of data. The other one is the UI, but this is accurate to explain the data. So what this means is, you have in English you have all of these terms: grade point average, cumulative average, academic average, weighted average, GPA. In Spanish you have nota media, promedio acumulativo, whatever. Then Mexican, clasificación media. In Argentinian, nota media, whatever. What we are saying is, anytime we find any of these terms in this language, in a document we know is in this language, and here in the replace of, you can only have, of course, one per language, because you would never have two for the same language, because it would only work in the find, never in the replace. So every time you find if the source language is this and this is any of the term that we find, if the target language is this, then you use media global. Whatever is the one you find in the find, you will use this in the output. That's it. This is the concept. Of course, why we are proposing this UX. Of course, this was us trying to think the best way. I don't know how the other tools are doing. I don't know what's your perspective here, but we could have a different approach in terms of UX. We could say we could have this approach where doing this and being each line, we would say, okay, when you find these, translate these. When you find that, translate that. But this would be, my understanding is this is a wrong approach. Why? Because all of these combinations of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in English, 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 25 combinations in English, plus 3 plus 5, 15 in Spanish. So already 40, plus other 10. So we have uh, 50 combinations here, potential combinations here. Now the permutations of these combinations are 50. And the more you grow and thinking about the universal one, the more languages you are supporting here. You would need to manually try to understand if you have all the combinations possible of this language to that language, this language to that language. That's why I believe this would be a wrong approach and this is the right approach. But of course, you are the one with this expertise, and you should we can discuss this. But this is how we are proposing to manage the memos.
Actually, I like it. I just have a question. Is like, uh, for what I see there, we have calificación media, nota media, and those are equivalent terms. So more than Mexican Spanish or Argentinian Spanish, I reckon it should go to the language level, like Spanish. Calificación media, nota media, they are the same. Spanish is like the the main, like the umbrella that is covering the terms.
Yes,
Not so much by
I
Mexican or Argentinian.
I understand. I'll ask you one thing. I don't have a good example, but I could try to bring an example. I think there are some terms that even if the language is the same, in a given region have one meaning, in other region have a different meaning. This exists.
Yes, definitely.
That's why I don't know. Of course, it's your decision, but whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why we brought this way, because there are a lot of terms that in one region mean one thing, in another region mean another.
Yes, but I think more,
Portuguese to Brazil,
like,
Portuguese from Brazil, Portuguese from Portuguese, Portuguese from the Brazil, a lot of false friends. And then you would,
yeah,
if you don't make that distinction, you could be making a really bad hallucination.
mistake. Yeah. So my question is like, how will the LLM, which is the one who's gonna look for this word, find the word, and say, okay,
But that
from
part is not done by the LLM. This part I'm saying, the memos is algorithmics, is heuristics. It's
okay,
not LLM, because LLM can hallucinate these things, can make wrong.
yes, yeah, yes. Actually, that's good. I want to know more whenever the time comes to know more about how this works, because this could be a great approach. Taking out the LLM out of the equation for this part is
This is
great because
this
it
is no
reduces
LLM.
cost, reduces the chance of error. Um, but yes, I mean, I'm trying to figure out. Okay, I have a document from Mexico, let's say. So chances are that I will find calificación media or um, well, whatever term that is. Uh, but still my mind is trying to come around the fact that in my mind it comes at the umbrella language concept, and if whatever that is, if in Spanish, which is the language the document is in, you find this word, replace this for this one. So I like the fact that you have like different options, and like whatever that is, every time you find this word, change for this word. So in English, great. if I'm understanding correctly, grade point average will be turned in GPA. A
No,
cumulative
no, no, no.
average,
Wait, wait.
no?
No, more or less. That depends on the from to language. So let's say if let's say or oops if original and translated. Okay. Okay. Wait. Um, I'm just throwing an example. Let's say you're doing a translation that is from Portuguese to English.
Yeah.
What this would do is only do one thing. If I find, oh, I don't have Portuguese here. Great. So Spanish to English. Okay.
Mhm.
So if I find nota média, it's going to be GPA. If I find promédio acumulativo, it's going to be GPA. If I find promédio ponderado, it's going to be GPA. This is the only thing that the algorithm will do, not the LLM algorithm. That's what this means.
Yes. So yeah, yeah. I like the, but I'm just trying to find out like you have a list that says find and one list that says replace. How do you do the match? I mean, how visually, how can I visually see and say grade point average is going to be GPA? Is because if the first one in find and if the first one is replace, or how do I actually know that that's the match for each concept?
Did not understand.
Okay, I will try to reformulate the question.
Uh-huh.
I see and I understand that there is a list of find, and if you find one of those, replace. So how, in traditional ways, you can actually see enter in Spanish. Comer means eat. That's good. So you can actually see what the result from for comer is going to be in English. But in this case, how can people know in advance, or how can I expect what word is going to be used to replace this term in the different language? I just see the list
So
of options to find and the list of
remember one thing.
options to Okay.
This is only one memo, grade point average, which is a concept.
Yes. Yes.
What this is saying is this concept, grade point average, whenever we find in any of these languages this term, whatever is the
Mm.
target language, we're going to replace for this term. So what this means, that's why I was throwing this example. So let's say I have a text here. Whoops. Whoops. Sorry. Yeah. So I have a text here, and this text here is in English,
Mhm.
and it
And
has
has the word cumulative average.
this
Okay.
this one here, and wait,
Hmm.
this one here. Okay, has these words here, and then whatever. This is enough. In the original, we have this.
Hmm.
Okay, wait, give me a second. Just so we do something that makes a bit of sense. Okay, let's imagine this was the translation. This text doesn't make any sense, but let's imagine this was the. What this would do is what this would do would be something like this. Of course, the texts are not matching.
Yeah, yeah,
These
I
are
know,
not
I know.
matching. But this is what this would do, because what this would say is, oh, cumulative average is a find,
Found.
and
Okay, so replace for.
the translation is for which language? Oh, it's for English. It's for Spanish.
Okay,
So use nota media. Now, hey,
perfect.
average grade. Okay, here it's in Spanish. Yes. So translation
Not a
is
media.
so. Oh,
Not a media.
this is the opposite. Sorry, this is original. This is translation. Okay.
Yep,
Okay, weighted average grade. Let's see in Spanish. What is this? Nota media. Nota media. Done.
perfect. Makes
If I
complete
would
sense to
now,
me now.
if I would now say this is Portuguese, this would be,
Media global, algo así,
yeah,
something
média
like that.
global. Média global.
Great.
You brought the Brazilian Portuguese accent, which is
It's the only accent I have heard.
it's
Yeah,
yeah. This would be média global.
this might sound, I don't know, disruptive to you. Like when
No,
I
no, it's
hear
cool.
someone speaking Spanish from Spain, when the accent is so thick, it's like, oh, a bit, a bit
Yeah,
too much.
yeah, yeah. That yeah. So this would be média global.
Great.
Global. Whatever. So whatever we find here in this language, we'll translate to this. So this is unique. This is
To each,
this is as many per language as you want. This must be only one per language. The system will not allow you to have one more than one replace per language. So then you have all
yes.
the flexibility per concept. This can be growing and growing in time, your intelligence, but you don't need to do all, because the other tools I saw, they would do these the way I was saying, they would do this.
For every language. Here we
Oh,
have a concept, and
yeah,
independently of the language, as long as we have them listed there,
yeah,
next time I translate to German, it
yeah.
doesn't matter. If I have a
You
memo
just put
there, it
here
will apply.
the term in German that you think is the precise for this concept, because here what we are saying is concepts, aggregating these in concepts instead of being strings only, is concept, and inside this concept, any of these strings should be per language this the result, because it's a concept.
I like it. I actually think this might be a novelty way to approach this. So yeah, I like it. It's very intuitive.
It's it is so I think it's less immediate than having a table, but after they learn how to use it, they don't want to go back to the table because it's way more efficient. It's way
Definitely.
more
One
structured.
concept, different options for each language. That's it. Like it.
Katarina,
Just one question. And per project, right? Because this concept makes sense in a specific context.
you
For
have
instance,
three levels for memos: organizational,
Yeah.
client, and project. And the more specific wins. You can set them at the level you want. Most users might be setting most of these things at the organization level. These are my memos.
Yeah.
Most,
Yes.
most. But
Yeah.
then might
Uh-huh.
be some specific clients might say, I don't agree with this. Whenever I find this word, this is what I want. Some specific clients might have their specific needs. That's what,
Yes.
and yeah.
What about the I like it, and yeah, I agree. Actually, for Translati, as a client of the platform, we would have organizational memos only, or most of the time, because we don't have a specific client that has raised their hand and said, "I need this to always be like this." But we know that's the case for many translators that work closely with other companies for long years, and they specifically ask them to say specific words for each term. So that's very, very accurate. What about allowing them to, which I reckon this is like a database where they can add more like, uh, like labels, and under that label, the first label is company and company memos, a lot of them there, client memos and project memos. Can we also allow them to create by topic, for example, like legal or um
Oh,
like
makes sense, makes
uh
sense. But
engineering or something like
yes,
that?
yes. But what I would say yes. What I would say is that in this at this level, concept level, so
Mhm.
this is at this level, the level is this concept, you could label here. So whenever these, but that this would force us for one thing. We can do that, but this would force us that every document you upload, you must set what is the type of document. So there's trade-offs there. Because
Yeah,
then we
because
need to
okay,
know, okay, what type of document is this? Is this a legal? Is this a whatever? Is this a whatever?
because
I understand what you mean.
the translators that work with us, they are freelancers. Like we already hired them, but when they work as freelancers, they had these memos by topic sometimes because they saw the document and say, okay, this is legal stuff, or this is engineering thesis or something. So they
I
say like,
understand.
okay, I will apply engineering, and chances are that some memos that they have in the engineering, section or category, will apply even if this is a new project because it has some terms related to engineering.
I understand.
So yes, that might work as well.
I'm
Um,
afraid with that. I'm afraid of that.
how come? Why?
Okay, I'm afraid of that. Why? Because you have a text. You do have a text, and you might have a document that is in the context of a project that is an engineering project, but then there's
Hmm.
a part there where someone wrote something. And what I mean is, these honestly, this is a very important conversation we must have, but later. What I mean is why, because this becomes very tricky. We need to do a lot of permutations over a lot of use cases. We need to make sure. What I'm just saying is, by heart, I would say that that is dangerous for one, but we should not discuss it now because otherwise we could. This is something. If we move forward with this approach, we need to discuss in detail before implementing, but not now. Why? Because there are a lot of different use cases. Although in some cases that might make sense, in other cases this could be dangerous. Why? Because the same document that is a document with some pages might have things that are related to engineering and other things that are related to financials, because in this document this was a acceptance of a blueprint of a project to build a bridge. So some things are financial, some things are engineering, and then it will be a problem then, because this is a heuristics algorithmic centric approach, is a
Hmm.
find and replace. uh, uh, then the machine would not know which one to apply, if any to apply. And also, but that's I'm not sure, really not sure, but this is something we should not discuss now because this is really going in depth, which is
Yeah, that's a
people.
very dense topic. I will also think of deeper about this, but initially the approach that I see here, I like it. I think it's novelty and I think it's very intuitive.
So
So the only thing that remains for me to think of is how many levels or how more practical is for them to have different levels of memos and and how to apply them. But the way to display and to create them at the concept level is just perfect. I see nothing to add here. So good. Just one question. This replacement comes after or before the translation?
this is also in depth. We need to, that is now, so first we define the product concept, thinking about what are the intentions of the user and the user experience. Once we close that 100%, then we will analyze how will we implement it, and this is the kind of thing we will need to test small proof of concepts isolated from the application, controlled environments. We'll try different strategies. There are a number of strategies you can do. One is you first do these heuristics of doing a text search and finding exact matches. And if you find them, you label them, and then you tell the LLM, be careful of these. And then after the LLM does
Yes.
its work, you check if they kept what you asked. And if not, you ask. There are a lot of strategies that we can
Yes.
do
That
Not
one
sure
that you
yet.
mentioned,
I need
that's
to-
the one I have tried and it works well. As long as you mark or even say in the LLM, should you find a word in English, make sure it is properly
no,
written.
that we should not do. That we should not do. I'll tell you why. So, oh, but that's going really in depth. But why? I understand what you're saying, but we should not do that for one reason.
Danielle, we don't have a lot of time. You should proceed with the
Yeah.
screens.
Okay, but just to reply to that. So if you have a text that is not this text, but is a huge text, um, right? If you have a text like this, and then a table and a lot of things to process, and if you're asking the LLM, hey, and this is a small list, but imagine as an application, you might suddenly have millions of terms. And if you're
Mhm.
asking the LLM, hey, do this parsing of tables, whatever, and also try to find any of these 1 million terms, wrong. You shouldn't. What first thing you should do is the best technology to do the quickest possible exact match search heuristics algorithmic approach. LLM not did not kick in yet. First we find, do we have any match? We have. Okay, we have it here.
Replace. Hard replaced.
We have
Boom,
it.
boom,
No,
boom.
we don't
Change
replace
it.
now. We don't replace now. When we ask the LLM, we say, okay, do your best translation, but for this term, and this term, you will have to stick to this translation. Don't invent. In these three terms, so first we pre-process algorithmically,
Hmm.
then we tell him, when we give him, do your work, and for these three terms, stick to this translation. Don't invent, stick to this. And then he will do his work. And then after he does his work, we're gonna check, did he keep these words? Yes or no. If he didn't, we'll ask him, two times, oh, why didn't you keep, and if after two times he still failed, we give up, we output, and we warn the user there was one memo missing in our translation, which is this one, and then the
Okay.
user
Yeah.
will
Let's.
decide.
Yeah. Let's test that in that particular phase.
Yeah, when we get there, we'll discuss this in detail, but just to say that, if why we are not asking the LLM to do this, because if we are asking the LLM, oh, please do this, translate, and also consider all of these 1 million strings, if you find any of these, do this, whatever, if we do this, he's gonna start doing a bad work on the tables, or he's gonna totally hallucinate on the replace, find and replace, because he's not good
Yep.
at mixing a lot of things together. He's gonna mess up.
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay. So this is creating a new project. So basically, no, this is an empty project. So this is just an empty state, just to say, okay, you have a project without documents, no documents yet. This is just showing the empty state. So also want to show here that this we are not reinventing, and I really think we usually don't do what we've done. But here, I really like this experience in GPT for this specific context. I really think is good. It's so simple. You can always move because you might have created a document in the wrong project and you only realize after you create. You can move to another one. You can remove from project. We'll go here. You can rename, archive, or delete any document in a project. Very simple. And now here, this is creating a project. So creating a project is, you just go through this very quickly. um, it's nothing new here, but it's just the creation of a project. Oh, okay, so now okay, wait, sorry, let me just put this in the order, in the right order. To tell the story. So you are in a project, right? And you upload a file here. The second you upload a file or click here to add a file, then you would upload, and then you'll go to this screen. So this is a new document process. So you uploaded this file. You're seeing this file here. By default, of course, if you are inside the project, this comes filled. But if you're here and you click straight here to add a document, even if you start ad hoc, you can always put it inside inside the project of a specific client, right? Then you'll decide if you want layout plus translation, or just layout or just translation, and you immediately see how many credits per page. Oh, this should say per page. Okay, but this is a detail.
Right. I
We
like it.
Yeah, you already see how many credits per page, and if of course if you're doing different actions,
Combinations.
you're gonna pay different. So, but you immediately fill these default source target default language target language or source language target language. These are the default because you're creating a process, a project. These will no, this is a document, so it's not default. This is source language. Just as a default is in at the project level, you're saying most documents will be, but in of course when it's a specific already a specific document, it's not the default, it's the one you're actually doing. Source language target language. um, Page selection, because you have all, you're seeing total 30 credits because it's 10 credits times 3 pages.
Perfect. Mhm.
And then yeah, you would maybe, instead of, this is something that we will need to think in with time, but for example, instead of start process, maybe we would have a prepare document, because it's more
Yes.
skewed, is more,
Less
more,
threatening for them. Yeah.
yeah, it's less threatening. It's less like I'm feeling this machine is doing my work. But if it's just preparing, it's like, yeah, okay. So that now we go to the process document interface, and basically here what you're seeing is original versus the process. So we'll go one by one. So let me start with the top. So in the top you have the document name that you can rename, and this is very important. Compare version. Uh, Wait, let me show you. The icons are not. So
Yeah,
basically,
couldn't update the icons.
yeah.
Yes.
So basically, you have three layouts. One, you're seeing them both the same way. The other one, if we double click here, will work. But also, if you go on the top and change here, will work. Is you might be seeing one big and the other one small, or you might want. Oh, but let me see this in detail. You double click, you either change up there, or you by double clicking you are in these different modes. This is something that I don't know if you code, if you have the coding
Mm,
experience,
I have had to learn the hard way
but
because of all of this, but no.
this
Uh,
makes a big difference, which is this concept. So I'm here, and I'm working on this, but I want to be looking at this, but I can either see them side by side, or I can, oh, but now let me see this in detail, and I still have the other one here. Okay, I see this now. I go here in detail, and having these,
Toggle, this toggle, like I want this, or
yeah,
change the layout for comparison. I
yeah,
like it.
either side by side, uh, half half, or focusing on more on one than the other makes a huge difference when you're making comparisons. Big difference.
Okay. Yep.
So this is this part. Also seeing processing history. So if we did not design this, but I'll show you the concept. I'll explain you the concept. Basically, processing history is in this project, or document. In this case, document. These are all the processes you did in time with the credits that you spent. It's just an audit trail, so it's not a black box where you don't know where the credits go. So you have full transparency and know exactly who processed what, when, and how much did it cost in time, evolution in time. It's just an audit trail of credits spent per document. So you see everything in
Yes.
detail. Okay.
Yep.
Or of course, the ultimate thing is downloading the document, which is the ultimate thing. When you're happy, okay, this is perfect, you download the document. So one more thing. So two more important concepts. We are separating these because this was a 3 pages document. We're separating these per document, per page. Why?
Per,
Because
per
if you,
page.
sorry,
You said per document. I was
per page.
correct.
Sorry, yeah, per page. Because if you want to reprocess, you might just want to reprocess one specific page or the whole document.
Yes.
So when you click on reprocess, what we'll have is this. So you can no longer, oh, by the way, here, you can no longer change this because this is a reprocess. And maybe we'll have a text explaining because this is a reprocess, you cannot change the source. Okay. You by default, additional prompting comes open because you might want to say, oh, please bear in mind that these terms should be whatever. So you're trying to reprocess. And by the way, let me tell you one thing. Besides keeping the context, when we are reprocessing, we have, by experience, we've been doing a lot of these things. We know that whenever we are reprocessing, the prompt will not be the same as the previous one. And the context of the previous version we will bring as a special context saying, okay, you've done this way. This is something we've been doing a lot of times, and we know how to do this. All of this is happening in the backend. The user will never know what is happening in the backend. They just see the document, the result, right? But we'll tell them, whatever you've done here, um, uh, we still have
Apply.
these. We still have these. That seems not to be. These user feedback seems not to be. And then we have a supervisor that is trying to see whatever. It's very detailed. Now we must move forward. But this just to explain you that um, that this is this is what we are doing. So then on pages, because you clicked here on the first one, we are saying by default is custom one-to-one. But you might want to know, I actually want to reprocess everything. You will change to all, or you change 1 to 3, or whatever you do, right? Um, and then because this is a reprocess, is only 7 credits per page. This is only one page. You're paying less than when you process the first time. Okay. One more thing. This is not a detail here. You are comparing these, but if you are in a V2 already, if you want to compare V2 with V1, you can change here and compare V2 with V1 to see if it improved or not. You decide what you're comparing with what. And I think
Excellent. Yes.
by default is always comparing with the original, but you might be
Yeah.
reprocessing and tweaking, and you might want to compare with the previous versions to see if now it's. So you also, as a user, you in time you learn how to prompt, and heuristically wise, you have this intuitive learning, and then you will be learning how your prompts are helping with better results in time. And so for that, you might want to compare sometimes. Um, and last thing is the credits. So as a user that can acquire credits, this is what I would see, and I'll explain you what this means. So I'm gonna zoom here a bit. So when you click here, you'll see this. So your total credits are these now. You have 10,000 top-up credits that you bought somewhere in time, and according to your plan. So we have these two concepts: plan and top-up. What this means is, because you want users to be sticky, plan credits are more affordable than top-up credits, so they become regular paying users.
Users.
But the planned credits, they don't accumulate. So you spend them in a monthly cycle, and in the end of the cycle goes back to 50K, for example. So renew 50K renewing in 9 days, but they don't pile up and up and up and up and up. It's a plan, but it is more affordable, right, than topping up. But if you went out of credits and you want to top up, you can top up. And these credits are
Are
only
more expensive.
ones are slightly more expensive, but they are always the last ones being consumed. So we're always being consuming the ones that will renew automatically. But when this goes to zero, you start consuming the top up credits.
Okay, I have two observations.
But you might
I might
you
need.
might be on a mode. But let me just tell you this: you might be on a mode where you're not in a plan, you're in the free plan, but you're topping up because I just want one shot. But you might get to a point where you say, "Oh, this is actually more affordable, the plan, so I want to stick to the plan." But you still might need to top up without needing to raise your monthly subscription. Um, you know, but
Yes, I had two different approaches for this. I might need to talk this with my business partners and as
yeah,
well with translators to see what they would find more suitable. But my idea is, let's not uh, charge them for reprocessing. Of course, there is a limit. If they keep doing click, they will ruin my company just by doing clicks and reprocessing a document infinitely. But let's say they can reprocess an image 3 times or a page 3 times. That's not so expensive for me. I mean, it is expensive, and we are using a very, very powerful model here. But the price that we are going to charge by page allows for that to be profitable. And the
But
user
maybe,
experience is like I had the chance to, because people can say like, okay, this product is so shit. It took my credits and still I am not happy with the result. So they
but
might say like,
but
I spent original credits, then reprocessing one, reprocessing two, reprocessing three, and still the result is not good. So I emptied my credits and I am not happy with the result.
yeah.
People might come to that conclusion in some cases. And the second thing that I also, of course, need to figure out or think twice is I think that the most fair way to charge this is by credits. It's like, okay, do top ups, no different between the pricing of top ups or plans. Actually, no plans. It's like uh recharge this. This is like an API, like recharge $200 and you use it as you go. And if you run out of credits, and even if you are in the middle of a work, they will say like, okay, you need, before starting the job, it calculates and say, you need to top up more credits for this.
Mm,
Maybe we can set up some top ups like 5,000 credits, 10,000 or whatever, that not at the end are like plans, but the
mm,
thing of charging them monthly, it's very attractive on the business side, but it might deter people because they might be one off, and they might say, "Okay, I paid for this and I didn't use this. Then I remember I had this and I entered the account and I realized the credits are gone completely. I need to pay again." So that has happened to me before with other services, and I'm like, "Shit."
can I,
I
Camilo? Sorry, can I?
Yeah.
We don't. We will not get to a conclusion there, but I would like to share my perspectives. When you get to a point where you need to decide, I would like to share my perspectives. Maybe in the MVP you start with just top ups, but I have different angles here by seeing so many SaaS doing different things. And in your case, I still, even after what you said, I still think these might make sense, but we should discuss these when we. I'm just saying this because now we would not have time. This would be a longer discussion.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah. Let's keep
understand
that
what
in
you're
the.
saying, and there's not a. This is not. There's not. There's not any rational that we are 100% sure, but giving the flexibility for both things and having an advantage on having a recurrent plan is a real business advantage for both you and the companies that want to use it you consistently for a number of reasons. One is they just don't need to manage these because the plan it's so obvious that at the volume they work, these
It's
plans
so big. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just do it once, you don't rethink, and it's there. You don't need to be always prepaying tokens, having them on an awareness mind of, oh, we are spending more. No, if the plans are well designed for this type of freelancer, they'll just use the freelancer one and it's gonna cost X per month. They don't think. Just perfect. They just do my work. I never never think about tokens. I'm just relaxed. For an agency of this size, this plan is perfect, so they do the same. This is a really good price. I don't worry about tokens. If one day you need more tokens this month, you can top up. You don't need to augment the plan. We don't need to really, but I think
Yeah.
design the right way is the best both for you and for them. I think, but we don't need to have a
Yeah. To do it now, just
now.
keep
But
that
this is
into.
something we must discuss. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
And this
Monthly
is so
plans.
this is only this is two more pages. One is of course you have
We're
global
not
credit.
sharing, Danielle, we're not sharing the screen.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. So here in the sitemap, I was showing you that you do also have these in your credits. You can top up. You see the active subscription or this
Subscription.
consumption history, and this the sum of these two: your active subscription plus the consumption history. Oh no, it's just the consumption history, where you're seeing everything that everyone in your organization has been spending, and you see this again. and if you click on change your plan, of course, this is a most classical thing. The concept we are saying here is the completely free is you do not have a plan. Basically, when you create, we give you X credits for free, at one time, no renewal. And but the other
Great.
ones is per month, and this is per month, and the renewal mechanism is renewal automatically every month, right? And we can, of course, we can have all kind of things here. We did not take this to the detail, but it would be important here to understand how many documents, complex documents with tables, will these allow me to process per month, for example. These are the kind of
Okay.
things that when we have this information for someone, knowing the amount of credits is like of okay, I don't know what this means, but if you know, this will allow you to process up to 200 documents, complex documents with tables, or this one 700 and this one 2500, whatever it is. Of course, we'll need to have that here as well. But this is it. So
Okay.
this is our the state of the art as of now.
Well, guys, thank you. It's a very professional delivery. I'm really happy with what I see. The design, the logic, everything is very well thought. Of course, there are some things that we have been discussing that we need to double think before committing to actually doing it, because I know that's a different step and it will take more time, and we cannot adopt in the middle of the task and say no, go back to this, because we need to be very sure about what we are doing. But overall, I like what I see. Even the design, I think is good, is clean, is it looks good to me. Of course, we need to come with a brand and a logo, but those are small things that we can
Mhm.
provide later. Um, I, by my way of thinking, I do want to keep this simple. I know you shared this with me, and I want to be really on the side of the user. So things like maybe not charging for reprocessing, having three times to reprocess could be an option. Maybe not using plans that goes to waste and I have to pay again, but top up could be another thing that we might consider. And also, I would like to maybe have a one size fits all approach, because I know if I use Gemini, that will work even for from the simplest page, just text, a title and a paragraph, to the very complex one, as I have proven and shown and shared with you. So I know it's more expensive, but giving this option of to the user to say, oh, this might be a very easy one, because in their mind it might be easy. So we use Claude or Gemini 2.0 Flash or any smaller model,
I understand.
might get to frustration because they say like, oh, this was so easy. This stupid tool doesn't work for me. And now we need to pay a reprocessing or waste more time compared to
I
doing the whole thing with the bazooka from start. It will just solve all the problems. Of course, it's more expensive, but we are aiming to charge the equivalent to around $3 Australian per page, and people are willing to pay even more. Of course, we need to come up and figure out the proper pricing, more than pricing the credits, because at the end it's just charging more or less credits and assigning
understand.
up a value to those credits. But uh, what I have calculated is we are profitable enough to allow people to do this and reduce frustration and let less decisions in the hands of the user. Just do this and it will work 90%
I,
of the time.
I understand. I understand. So
So I will double check that with the tester users or prospects that we have been talking to, even with my business partners, and come back and say, okay, let's approach this way.
makes total sense. Can I ask you a couple of things? So first, I would like to say I'm totally aligned with you. I love the fact that you're thinking these things, protecting the user, knowing the user, and I think you're in 100% in the right place on your reasoning. Totally resemble with that. I agree. Um, uh, for MVP wise, for sure. Regarding the three things I said. So, first one, not paying for reprocess. Uh,
three times free. If it
I
didn't work
understand.
for you at the three times, fourth is not going to change
I
anything.
understand.
Or even two.
My take is blocking for 3 times. It's not a good thing. But for one reason, because you might need the fourth, you might need the fifth to get the perfect result, and you don't want to be frustrated. Only three. That's a way bigger frustration than. But what I mean is regarding which I totally understand your point of not having them feel like they are paying a lot to reprocess something that was not done well. Couple of things here. Of course, it's your decision, but you take my educated guess here, which is one: if 80 to 90% of the times we process a document is saving them a lot of time, when sometimes they will find some problems, they will not be that frustrated because they are so happy that we are saving their lives 99 90 x or 80% of the times. This would not be a problem. If you're I would either say, this is my take, of course it's your decision. I would either say, even if you're charging 30 tokens to process, you might be charging 1 token to reprocess, whatever it is. What I mean is, you either might even do it for free. Blocking them to X times is an artificial thing to protect you that is generate more frustration than them paying one almost nothing or for free reprocessing as many times as they want. For free is dangerous. If someone wants to harm you, they can put a bot throwing you to
All the time, all day long.
they could put a bot, a competitor could put a bot destroying your financials, right? And it would be a very easy bot to create. So I would say, yeah, it would
So
be,
scary to hear that.
yeah. So if you have something there that is okay, to process is 30, to reprocess is only 3, but that whatever for a user is like, yeah, I understand because I'm spending more resources, but it's not something that is going to cost me real money, but it's preventing you from having a bot destroying your financials. So uh, whatever, it's your take. On couple notes. Other plan
Top
versus
up some plans. Mhm.
plan versus whatever. Do your This is a business reasoning. Really, we can discuss it if you want, but is 100% your business sensitivity. I think it's everything. Yeah, I think because I merged the two together in the first one. What I would just say is aligning on expectations about next steps, which is important. So the next step after this is you would either say, which doesn't seem to be the what it is the output. You would either say, guys, this is totally wrong. We need to redo this because the vision is totally different from what we need, and then we would understand what we need to change. We change, or you would say, okay, there are some details we still need to decide, but this is there. If you are at that point, either you say now or later. If you are at that point, the next step is we'll move forward to estimations, to then starting this, and the things we are discussing, at least now, they do not change the estimations. The only one that changes is if we have recurring plan or versus only top ups, but we can even estimate them separately, and this doesn't stop you from making all whatever is the business decision. So what I would ask you is, the sooner the best, because we have everything fresh and vivid in our mind to bring the developers now to help estimating. The sooner the best. You would say, okay guys, in a nutshell, the vision is good. Move forward, we will do the estimation.
Okay. Yep. Good.
Knowing one thing, which is, when we it is important to understand this. If we, after estimations and adjustment of estimations, if you want to start working with us, what we will do, then we will go in depth into all the things. Not now, only then, because it,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, and for a number of reasons. One is because first thing we do is we set the right order, the roadmap. If we move forward to phase 2 development, first
Mhm.
thing we do is we set what is the roadmap. First, we're gonna do this, then that, then that, a reasoning, which is always risk mitigation reasoning on roadmap. Is always our reasoning, considering business intentions, technology challenges,
Mhm.
and right order of technology, because you cannot start with something before you have something else. You have dependencies, business intention, technology dependencies and logical things, and with the mindset of mitigating as much as possible the risk. What we do is the most critical things in terms of technology we'll do first, always. Even if we still don't have a interface, but we are sure, okay, this all of this is working, then we move to the next. So what I'm saying is, then taking discussions into depth is as we go. Why?
Yes, makes sense.
Because the learnings we've done here, we were assuming we would do this one way. If we discuss everything preemptively, then some assumption is wrong. So we've been spending a lot of time and energy deciding something that, with the learnings of the first step, we understand, oh, we'll need to change all of that. So then we go step by step, making these deep decisions. So
Yeah.
for now is not non-deep decision because it's waste of energy. It's just, is the vision aligned? If yes, we move forward to estimations, and then
Yes.
that's
Yes, makes sense. Yeah, completely agree with that. Just two more things I want. Might be not the scope of this meeting, but still are worth having in mind. The first one is sometimes the APIs can render errors, like didn't complete the job, or it assumed it was a violent sexual content, which actually there are in the documents many times.
okay. True.
So of course, the reprocessing should include like the prompt does a lot of the work there to overcome that and create a new version. Okay, but we need to be aware of the API errors because it might be perfect and be can be displaying just half of the work to the person. It happens to me when I use Gemini AI Studio. It renders, and there at the bottom there is a little bit of a alert icon that says it couldn't render the whole document. Change the prompt, and it's because it's sex or violent related the documents of the person. So we need to be aware of that to provide a good service to
Makes
the
sense.
to people. Like, okay, there is a problem. We are going to run this again for you, or something like that. And the other thing, two more things, is we might hit the API quota very fast, like the limit that we are allowed to use per request per minute, request per day. So every page, every time a page is being generated, that's an API call. So if we have, I'm a translator. I'm translating a 10 pages document. You are translating one. Katarina is translating a 5-page document. Every time every page is running is a an API call. So we need to make sure that every time the system is working on a page is not working in parallel. It would be more efficient, but we need to do it one by one, or otherwise we will not be able to provide this to more people. And the last question, which is very obvious, I guess, but when I download the document, I will be seeing a Word document constructed with all the pages of that particular file. Am I right?
Can you come again? Can you repeat
Yeah.
last part?
So I'm working on a document, and that document has 3 pages. I am happy with the result. I click on download, whether it is just layout or layout plus translation,
Mhm.
whatever. I click on download. Will I get a Word file, a docs
Oh, when you click on
document,
download, you get the Word file
yeah, with all the pages, everything,
with all the
like
pages
per document? Okay,
per document.
great. And I know you
Does that
show,
make sense? Is that what makes sense to you?
yes.
Because so
I know.
I'm gonna share this.
Okay.
So whenever you click here and download,
Mhm,
this would we have one of two options. One, we download the whole document. The other one, we
mhm.
ask you, like here, would ask you like here if it's all or custom page one or page 1 to 3 or whatever you want. Right?
Okay.
You'll
And
download.
what if I want to download the 3, 4 documents, like not just one document, but all the documents
Oh, of a
on the
project.
order?
Of a project.
Yeah, all the whole
Oh,
project to
okay.
get
That's
maybe,
we would have a download button here.
yes,
So
maybe a zip file with all the
we would have
documents.
a
Yeah,
download.
exact.
We will have a download button here to download all the assets of a project. Makes sense.
Yes, yes, great. And I know you showed this before, but it was not 100% clear to me. When I'm configuring the project, can I, at a project level, say like I want every single document here to be layout and translation? So
Oh,
I don't have to
exactly.
specify this by document, but I want the whole thing
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
this org.
So we would have in the defaults, we would have also the type of processing of
Yes. So it
preparation.
applies to it applies to every single document. So I don't have to go one
So
by one.
yes and no. What I
Just
mean is, by default, by this saying default, we are not fixing. We are just saying whenever you upload a new document, by default it will be filled already, but you might change because you're working in a project in all by default came Spanish to English, but one might be Italian to English. One document in a project. This could happen.
yes, that happens sometimes. Yes, yeah,
We
it
are not.
happens.
We are.
Portuguese and Spanish.
Yeah. So what we're doing is that's why we're in the at the project level we define the default, and we can add this field as a default as well. The type of translation.
Yes, please.
The
Yes,
type
please
of,
do because ideally,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
there are there are a few cases where I have like, or we have Spanish and Portuguese,
yeah,
people
yeah,
who
yeah.
live in Brazil, whatever.
Makes
So we do want the system to understand what language should apply to each document. That's okay. But I want the whole thing for every single document. I don't want to start one by one saying I want this layout plus translation, layout and translation. I want the whole thing for every document within the project.
makes sense. But
Okay, guys, I think that's about the time we have for now. I
in
don't
the,
know if
yeah, in the source language, you can have auto detect if we want. Could be auto detect.
I would prefer that option because the LLM are
Yeah, yeah,
very good
yeah.
at estimating the main language.
Could be auto
So
detect.
yes,
Could be.
yes, please.
But
This the target language,
we'll
the
have a
target
problem.
language
We'll have
is
a problem.
different, of course.
Sorry, we'll have a problem if there's a document with more than one language.
Yeah, but at the end,
Imagine
I
it's a
have seen
form.
those cases. There are not too many actually documents for Canada. You know, Canada, they speak French and English. Sometimes their documents are mixed, a mix of everything. But to be honest, the auto detect of LLM is very clear because the prompt is like translate this to English or to Spanish in this case, sorry. So that's the target language that we need to set up manually because the system is not a wizard.
Yeah,
He or she doesn't know what language we need
that's
this
it.
to, but the system is very capable of detecting the language and just the target language is the one that actually matters a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, of course.
All right. So yes, guys, if you can send me a copy of this session of the recording, I would appreciate that. I want to go again all over it and make sure I didn't miss anything before coming back with my comments.
Yeah, I will share with you the presentation deck, the